You see that? Nuk asked, peering out of the workshop window.
Hard to say that I do,
Isaiah replied. Wait for the next flash. It didn't take long before lightning streaked across the besmirched skies of the Deadlands and revealed on the horizon the outline of something.
I saw it, you're right,
Isaiah exclaimed.
There's something huge, mysterious, and most likely dangerous out there. That's the good stuff.
More like the good stuff will be inside. If this little shack gave me a skeleton army, what's going to happen when we go to that massive factory or whatever?
My prince, what if that place is guarded?
Wadston asked in vain. Literal ninja? Literal skeleton army? I think I'll be fine, my man. And that's like history out there. History goes in, right?
Well, it's history, alright,
Izumi said from the opposite side of the room to the skeletons. There you go, she agreed with everything I said, and Charlie loves it here, don't you?
It's dark. I can do whatever I want here,
Els grinned. And he made it weird. But that's fine, that was accounted for. Bad green. You want to keep going? Not gonna melt or whatever? Idiot human, Gustafsson shot back. I am not afraid of the dark, and I do not agree that the rain burns. Gustafsson had the advantage of being a race native to this planet, long accustomed to its toxic precipitations. He and Gary both considered the nearby lakes of acid to be nice quiet spots for a swim. Or they would be quiet if there wasn't a perpetual thunderstorm overhead and pesky tourists from a big city guild here on a team-building excursion. And you guys, you all want to go for a little adventure, don't you?
Error,
the robots chimed. So we're all agreed. Come on then. The group filed out into the continuing drizzle of acid and started making their way south towards whatever the large shape Nuk had spotted on a distant hill was. As they rounded another small lake, the skeletons became agitated.
Danger, danger, protect the master,
they were saying. What's all this about? Nuk asked.
Oh, for fug's sake! Giant crabs!
Izumi shouted. In the darkness ahead of them there was indeed something big crawling around on four legs with two arms extended forwards.
Hostile, hostile, hostile,
the skeletons agreed, rushing off towards it.
There really were giant crabs, but something's different,
Isaiah said. As they followed the charging skeletons, they saw that this was a very special kind of crab indeed.
There's no need to worry, Miss Izumi,
Isaiah said.
That's no giant crab. It's a giant robot spider. Ancient soldiers of sorts.
Firstly, spiders have 8 legs. That is a giant robot crab,
Izumi insisted. Not going to be anything soon. Look at my minions going wild on it, Nuk pointed out. Indeed, his legion of skeletons had swarmed the huge machine and were wailing on it with metal rods or their steely fists. The ancient crab spider soldier was swinging and stabbing at them with its rigid arms, but it was overwhelmed, and soon enough it appeared to lose power.
Threat neutralized. Master protected,
a skeleton proudly claimed. Nuk rushed over to congratulate them. Incredible men! You'll make fine samurai for my honor guard.
My prince! Behind you!
Wadston shouted. Behind the prince, the crab spider jerked back to life, its engine whirring and its legs digging into the ground.
Fug!
Nuk shouted. Thinking quickly, he jumped towards the thing and ripped away a warm metal sphere that was hanging on frayed wires from its underbelly. With that, the crab spider was vanquished for good. With a mechanical squeak, it locked itself in position forever.
Nuk! What did you do, Prince Teshino?
Izumi asked as she appeared at Nuk's side. Went for the round thing hanging underneath. Works on more than just spider robots, you know.
Okrin's faith, that's its core.
Obviously.
It's like its brain.
Ah, right. Gruesome.
It nearly killed you.
Yeah? You should see what I did to it.
Just give me the core, please.
Please? That's more like it.
Guys, what about those ones?
Els asked. He was gesturing towards the half-dozen more crab spider soldiers that were actually all around them upon closer inspection.
They're just waiting. Perhaps we can get the drop on them,
Isaiah suggested. Hang on. bots. What's the deal with those other ones?
Error.
Ah, right. It's fine, guys. They're all glitched out.
Prince Tashino,
Izumi began, but she had to eat her words when Nuke ran up to another soldier, kicked it in the leg, and returned to tell the rather boring tale.
Looks like there are more of them ahead. Perhaps they used to guard the secrets of the Deadlands. We're in luck, it seems,
Isaiah said. Sure, but you saw how that went down. When you have a skeleton army, you don't need luck, Nuke quipped, taking the lead to continue the burning hot, soaking wet adventure south. They passed more and more dormant crab spiders as they rounded lakes flanked by the remains of ancient cities. It was all no worse for wear now that it was being nuked for a second time. They reached a small hill, atop which was the series of shapes they had seen from the workshop. Up close it was clear that it was some kind of ancient settlement, from the post-nuking era, but still thousands of years old. What's more, it flashed as bright as the lightning whenever thunder roared. No rust. Smoke was rising from chimneys. Someone was living in this hellhole. Before any plan of action could be made though, Nuke's skeletons buzzed to life.
Protect the master,
they chanted, sprinting forwards and up the hill into the town. Damn it. Looks like we'll have to fight for some bloody shelter. Come on, auxiliaries, to battle!
To battle!
Isaiah called, prompting growls from Bobby and Claw, who followed him up the hill. However, atop the hill, the lines of battle were not so clearly drawn. In the dull light, they could see skeletons fighting all over the town, fighting each other. After Nuke and company halted in confusion, one skeleton ran over to them. It wasn't one of Nuke's. It was clean, heavily armed, and more clearly spoken. Travelers, stay back. The broken ones are attacking. Please remain here for your own safety, it said. Oh man, they're the broken ones, huh? I hate those guys, Nuke said, nodding to his friends to play along. Will you be okay? They're pretty, elite warriors. There is nothing to fear. They are old models, still carrying the slave virus. They are obsolete. Yeah, totally. You don't want to, just turn them off and leave them down there, do you? They must be destroyed and recycled. Please proceed to the human hostel once the road is safe. Goodbye, travelers. With that, the skeleton returned to the clanking melee nearby. Fug. My boys are getting decommissioned, Nuke lamented. They were worthy soldiers. The crimes of these machine rebels cannot be forgiven. I am sorry for your loss, Prince Tashino, Gustafsson said. I would say a few words for our fallen comrades, but it's fucking bucketing acid rain, so let's hit the pub, Nuke said. Everyone quickly agreed, and they ran past the slaughter of the broken ones and up the main road.
I just wanted to protect,
one said as its lights went out forever. At the other end of town was this so-called hostel. To the delight of all, it was actually some kind of bar. Tables and chairs were laid out around the hall, and food fit for biological life was being served. There were a couple of hivers sitting around, but the patrons were mostly skeletons, as was the barman who greeted them. Travelers, we have some human feed available for purchase. Please take a seat. Sure. First though, I'm not saying we're lost or anything, but where are we? Nuke asked. This is Black Desert City. But it's not in the Black Desert. Yes, it is. It's not. The Black Desert has, daylight and stuff. This is the Deadlands. The previous human who came here called this area the Black Desert. Yeah? When was that? 1,514 years ago. Oh, right. Fine, maybe they called it Black Desert then, but it's Deadlands now. We cannot change the name. Why not? We already constructed a sign. Ah, fair enough. So this is Skeleton City and stuff? This is a refuge for all free skeletons. The world leaves us alone here, except for travelers from time to time. Time to time indeed. So I guess that means it's not... there isn't anything I can... Do you have any items of historical value that might be more suited to study in the outside world? If you take anything from Black Desert City, you will be hunted and destroyed. Destroyed, huh? Nuke suddenly wondered just where this meat the bar served came from in a realm so devoid of life. Such thoughts convinced him to pay the fees for beds and retire the party upstairs. The human accommodation was little more than a bunkhouse on the second floor, but this was a joyous break from sleeping in besieged ancient ruins. While the party rested and tried to dry/deacidify their clothes, Nuk wandered over to a small lounge adjoining the bunkhouse. A few skeletons were sat at wooden benches with mugs of something viscous. They were perfectly still, and all but one ignored Nuk enter. The one that didn't had a brilliant red face painted over its dark skeleton faceplate. It even beckoned for Nuk to come sit down.
"Outsider, you must be a curious one to come all the way to Black Desert City,"
it said. Yeah, curious, that's one way of putting it. You look kinda different. You got the inside track on this place?
"Wait, you gotta give me $2,000 to reactivate me first."
But you're already talking.
"This is backup power, or something. I'm coin-operated, Mungo. I need 2 fat cats or I can't access the secrets in my memory chip and stuff."
They just leave you here. That's unbelievable.
"I agree. Now give me 2 stacks and I'll tell you the legends from round these parts."
Alright, fine. You got like a coin slot or something?
"Just put it in my bucket here. My CPU will smell the money and come running."
Of course. Nuk handed over the requested amount, and the skeleton waved about dramatically.
I am restored to life,"
it claimed.
"Finally I can tell you everything. The name's Red Rick. You wanna know why they call me Red Rick?"
Something to do with blood, right? You're a killer.
"Oh no, my circuits. It's the money bucket. It's too empty. Another 2 stacks should unlock the hidden truth. Come on, man, I want to hear it as much as you."
Nuk was convinced, and became yet poorer.
"I see it now. It was over 2,000 years ago. Oh yeah, there it is, clear as day.
What?
Some guy painted my face red. Started calling me Red Rick. Still red today."
And?
"That's the story."
That's the fucking story?
"Yep. Now what else you want to hear?"
Listen, Ricky, I know your game. You're a grifter. I need to make some cash off this stopover, and you're gonna show me where the good stuff is.
"My good stuff sensor is offline. I'll need 10 grand to cover the repairs. How about you fix me up, and I'll come with you wherever. Give you that inside track on all kinds of stuff from back in my day."
Skeletons, by the way, were functionally immortal. The skeletons in this building had been alive since long before the end of old society, but their limited memory capacity meant they didn't have any data left about those days. Nuk wasn't really up to speed on this latter point, and was happy to pay through the nose to get Red Rick as his personal skeleton revenge appraiser. Rick gave Nuk a tip about a huge facility on the edge of town, and took him to check it out. Regrettably, it had no treasure to speak of, and was merely a huge ancient factory that once created the Goliath battle machines that people like Azumi considered to be the reason the world had ended up how it was. A piece of history worthy of taking revenge on, you could say, but Nuk left empty-handed. After a long stint resting in the skeleton bar, everyone was less miserable than before, but generally were eager to leave the Deadlands. Their new escort Rick had a hot tip about an unlooted workshop to the northwest, so after introductions were made, and Gustafsson was done sniffing, they set off at quick march through the continuing rain and into an ancient industrial wasteland known as the Iron Valleys. Metal bridges set astride said valleys, and below were old ruins, ranging from barely visible to pristine. Rick's good stuff sensor was getting a strong reading from one particular building, an untouched armory. Why was it untouched, you ask? "Crab spider robot!" Azumi called. The machine rushed out of the armory doors and bashed New Kazumi and Gustafsson to the ground. The others following behind drew their weapons, but swinging a sword against a foe with an iron body doesn't achieve all that much, as you might imagine. Wadston went to get Nuk back up on his feet, while the Sheks, Rick and Gary chipped away at whatever wires, tubes and holes they could find. The crab spider angrily thrashed about and no one came away uninjured, but at last it faltered and Nuk hobbled over to show everyone the secret undercarriage dismemberment technique.
Bloody ancient shits! Why did they leave all their junk around like this? Nuk complained. No offense, Red.
Offense taken, but I'm a reasonable kind of guy, so I'll still give you the codes to the door on that armory.
Inside said armory, the crew could rest and loot to their heart's content, although the acid rain outside was leaking through the roof and had pooled slightly on the ground, so their hearts weren't very content, as it turns out. After clearing the place of useful swords and gear, they used the last hours of daylight to cross the rest of the Iron Valleys and camp out on the edge of the skim sands for the night. Rick, like all skeletons, never slept, so he kept watch, and chose not to experience the time that passed, so that to him it was morning almost at once. Back in the familiar, sticky, life-draining embrace of a good old-fashioned brown desert, the crew plotted a route home. They chose to avoid going near that vault place again, but that meant they had to use a pass through a mountain chain known as the Spine. There was a proper road and everything, but that meant there were bandits. A few such highwaymen accosted the party, but Rick pushed to the front of the group to challenge them.
You ain't no coin-operated biologicals, fellas. Get out of here before I send y'all back to your mamas in tears,
he said.
Fucking Skelly boy's got a mouth on it. Alright, just for that, I'm doubling the toll,
the bandit retorted. Rick's head swiveled back and nodded to the rest of the crew, who were resting their hands on weapons already.
Wrong answer, bandito. I got news for you, son. My name is Red Rick, and you gon' get the stick.
Rick drew a hefty metal bar from a plate on his back, and as promised, didn't let the bandits leave without a few tears. Being made of metal and moving with instantaneous reaction speed really lets you have your way with the puny biologicals, equally respectable life forms.
Rick, you mad machine! You're a damn beast!
Nuk exclaimed once the beating was over.
What can I say, kid? I might be a grifter, sure, but you get what you pay for.
Rick, you're the best,
Izumi said. She ran up and looked like she was about to hug the skeleton, but then refrained.
Can I ask, what era are you from, by the way?
What era? You asking me how old I am? Don't you worry. I'm not too old to spend time with a flower like you, madame.
Oh, Rick.
Okay, she's a history girl, alright. She just asked because she's obsessed with eras and stuff, Nuk interjected.
Quite right,
Wadston was quick to add.
Let's get moving before the thugs return. Rick can lead the way, and we'll all keep back for safety.
And so they did, and as luck would have it, they crossed the rest of the skim sands in peace, making it to the slightly less skimmy sands around the town of Stoat, the walls and troops of which finally offered them the protection of civilization. Yes, the town was surrounded by dead bodies, and fights were going on left and right, but that's all very nostalgic after days on lonely roads, I assure you. After a little R&R, some good food, and a lot of well-justified revenge, they'd be ready for the last leg home, having enjoyed a truly fruitful adventure. No, they didn't return with any treasures, or a robot army, but they'd learned the secrets of the Deadlands, and found an erstwhile adventurer in Red Rick. Yes, the real treasure was literally the friends they made along the way. And before they got home, they'd have one more friend too, as it happens.